Hi, I'm Graham and welcome back to Man vs Film. It is time for another 10 recommended movies that you can watch on Netflix UK right now, and these are just some random choices that I have for you. Let's start off with number 10, which is Stakeland. Martin was a normal teenage boy until a vampire epidemic swept across the land, and now with only Mister to look after him, you have to somehow make it to New Eden and safety. One of the greatest, most memorable characters that I can remember in recent movies was created in this low-budget horror movie, and that is the character of Mister, played by Nick D'Amici, who also happened to write this movie as well, so it generally gives himself all the coolest scenes and the best dialogue, but it works because Mister is a tremendous character. And this vampire movie is a little bit different from most. It is shot stunningly well with some fantastic photography. It's got some really nice and interesting ideas built in amongst it about cults and things like that as well, and it's one of the best vampire movies that I have seen in recent years. Number 9 on my list is Stakeland 2. When his home of New Eden is destroyed by a revitalised Brotherhood, Martin must wade into the sort of desolate lands of America as he tries to find his old mentor, Mister. Not as good as the first Stakeland, unfortunately, but it's still an interesting movie, and it gives us one thing that we really wanted, or that I really wanted, and that is the continued adventures of Mister and Martin, and we get that in abundance in this movie. And although it may not be as polished or as well worked a story as the first one was, it still has enough to keep you entertained. And number 8 on my list is Troll 2. A family vacationing in a small town discovers that everyone in the town is a goblin disguising themselves as a human and are planning to eat the family. This is probably the worst movie I have ever put on any of my top 10 lists. It is abysmal in almost every way, but it's so bad, it's kinda almost good. This is the kind of movie that you want to bring around a group of folk, have some drinks, some food, and just laugh at how ridiculously bad it is. Unfortunately, the documentary Worst Best Movie isn't on Netflix, but that just kind of tells about the cult that has come up about Troll 2, a movie that should have been forgotten about but somehow has been pushed into pop culture. Number 7 on my list is Trance. An art auctioneer who has become mixed up with a gang of criminals partners with a hypnotherapist in order to recover a lost painting. A whodunwhat heist movie by Danny Boyle, and again he continues his trend of never sticking in the same genre, moving every movie that he does. This one is a little bit darker than most of his flicks. This thriller crosses a lot of boundaries, pushes a lot of boundaries, and tends to leave a bit of a bitter taste in the mouth after watching this thing. It's not wholly fulfilling, but it's still interesting to see one of the best auteurs of our generation plod about in this kind of generic stuff. Number 6 on my list is The Cabin in the Woods. 5 friends go for a weekend break to a cabin in the woods and they find more than they bargained for. It is definitely a strange concoction, The Cabin in the Woods. It is a loving homage to those kind of horror movies of the 80s, but it is also a kind of deconstructed reimagining of that genre, trying to explain why all these movies may exist. It's a strange mix. Some of it works, some of it doesn't. It's by no means the perfect movie, but I have a lot of fun with it. And as much as I'm not so keen on the actual cabin part, the other part, which I don't want to spoil for you, I find it extremely interesting, and that's where I get most of my entertainment out of. If you like horror movies at all, you're going to love this one. Number 5 is Tomorrowland. Bound by a shared destiny, a tech-savvy young teen girl and a former boy genius set out to unearth the true secrets of Tomorrowland. It's a movie of two halves. The first is a kind of adventure, mystery, action movie hybrid that works really well with this sort of constantly moving forward story arc. The second half is a more clinically set future world which doesn't quite come off and kind of leaves it a little bit of a lackluster feeling about it. The movie looks great, there's some fantastic photography and there is some exceptional special effects in this movie, but I can't help but feeling that the second half just lets down the promises that the first half makes, which is a shame, but it's still worth a watch if you didn't check it out in the cinemas, which a lot of people didn't. Number 4 on my list is The Virgin Suicides. A group of male friends become infatuated with 5 mysterious sisters who are sheltered by their religious parents. This is a very strong directorial debut by Sofia Coppola. It has some famous names in it that weren't as famous at the time, and it is ultimately a very dark, very disturbing, highly enjoyable, very watchable movie. It's kind of like the last summer of innocence for the group of people involved here, before they kind of move into the adult world almost. Everything's not just about fun as it once was after the tragic events of this movie. It's kind of all about how men will never really understand women at all. It's told very well, it has some sumptuous photography, some great performances, and this is one that I go back to every other year and I just get more and more out of it. I think it's a terrific movie. Number 3 on my list, and the second Danny Boyle movie, is Slumdog Millionaire. A Mumbai teen reflects on his upbringing in the slums as he is accused of cheating on the Indian version of Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. This is one of these movies that everybody kind of has seen, but it fades away in the memory banks and you have a rough idea of what it was like and you go, yeah, it was okay, it's not something I'm never going to go back to. You should. This is a terrific movie. It's a movie about these two brothers who are on wildly different paths. You have one who kind of lives in the slums and you've got another one who broke out and entered into the criminal world, and he is kind of high up in that. And it's about the way that they have different trajectories. The young boy's made it onto the Who Wants to Be a Millionaire to find the love of his life, and his star starts to rise, as in with Parallel, his brother starts to fall. It is a terrific movie that if you haven't seen in a couple of years, or you kind of write off, it's time to check it out again and marvel at just how good it is. Number 2 on my list is Cuffs. Lovable loser George Cuffs loses his job and finds out that his girlfriend is pregnant at the same time, and the only option he has is to run away to his big brother, which you get a feeling he's done that a lot. Unfortunately, once he meets up with his brother is quickly murdered and he finds himself inheriting his patrol special district, which is a bit like a private police officer. This movie coasts in the charm of Christian Slater, and it also stars Tony Goldwyn, Mila Jovovich and Ashley Judd. And it's one of these strange mixing movies. It's got this really fun, energetic score that's a bit like Beverly Hills Cop. It's that kind of playful tunes that are in about it, but it's also juxtaposed with these really shocking images of violence where people are dying quite freely in this. You have Christian Slater speaking to the audience, breaking the fourth wall and actually talking to us well in mid-conversation with someone else, which I always kind of liked. And I just find the movie fun. Of course, I watched this loads when I was younger, so I may be looking at it through nostalgic eyes. But if you check this out, please let me know exactly what you thought about it, and hopefully it will be good. Number 1 for June 2017 on my Netflix UK list is The Descent. A caving expedition goes horribly wrong as the explorers become trapped and ultimately pursued by a strange strain of predator. I'm a huge horror fan. I've seen lots of them, and very rarely do they give you that really creep factor. You know, when you get the shivers down your spine and the hair in the back of your neck stands up and you feel kind of icky and tense. This movie does that to me. You have these women who go down into these caves. They're slight women to start off with, and they're squeezing through the tiniest of holes, and it's very claustrophobic, and you actually feel tense just watching them do this hobby that they have, let alone the fact that you have these strange creatures hunting them down for a food. It just adds so much tension and atmosphere to a delicious horror movie. Neil Marshall directs the heck out of this and creates a truly terrifying movie in my opinion. And if you like your horror, you will love this one, and it will probably scare you as well. So thanks for watching, and if there's any movies that I've missed off my list, or you think there's something that I should have recommended, let me know in the comment box below, and maybe I'll make it onto next month's list. And I'll see you next time on Man vs Film.